There are few names in Hollywood as instantly recognizable as Tom Cruise. For more than 4 decades, he has been the face of blockbuster cinema, a symbol of relentless ambition, and a living legend whose very presence can electrify a movie screen. From the cocky charm of Maverick in Top Gun to the steely resolve of Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise has defined what it means to be a movie star. But behind the dazzling smile, the adrenaline-fueled stunts, and the billion-dollar box office receipts lies a story that is far more complex and far more tragic than most people realize. At 63, Tom Cruise's journey is not just a tale of fame and fortune, but of heartbreak, loss, and the kind of loneliness that no amount of applause can ever truly erase. It's easy to see only the triumphs, the iconic roles, the awards, the magazine covers, the global adoration. But to truly understand Tom Cruise, you have to look past the headlines and the carefully crafted public image. You have to see the boy who grew up in the shadows of instability, the young man who fought for every scrap of recognition, and the adult who has spent a lifetime searching for belonging in a world that never quite let him rest. Tom's story is one of contrasts, public adulation and private pain, cinematic glory and personal heartbreak. Born Thomas Cruise Mapother IV in Syracuse, New York, Tom's early life was marked by turbulence. His father, an electrical engineer, was often absent and, by Tom's own account, abusive. His mother, Mary Lee, struggled to keep the family together as they moved from city to city, chasing jobs and a sense of stability that always seemed just out of reach. By the time Tom was a teenager, he had attended more than a dozen schools, each new start a reminder of how little in his life was permanent. The constant upheaval left him feeling rootless, always the outsider, always the new kid trying to fit in. School was never easy for Tom. He struggled with dyslexia, a condition that made reading and learning a daily battle. Teachers dismissed him, classmates teased him, and the world seemed determined to remind him of his limitations. But even as a child, Tom possessed a stubborn resilience, a refusal to be defined by his setbacks. He found solace in performance, discovering that on stage he could become anyone, escape anything. Acting became his lifeline, a way to channel his pain into something powerful, something that made people sit up and take notice. By the time he was 18, Tom had set his sights on New York City, determined to make it as an actor. He arrived with little more than hope and a relentless work ethic, taking odd jobs and sleeping on friends' couches as he auditioned for every role he could find. The city was unforgiving, but Tom's drive was unmatched. He landed his first film role in Endless Love, a small part that barely registered, but it was enough to get his foot in the door. From there, he clawed his way up, role by role, never letting rejection slow him down. The breakthrough came with Risky Business. The image of Tom Cruise sliding across the floor in his socks and sunglasses became an instant cultural touchstone, launching him into the stratosphere of stardom. Suddenly, the boy who had once been invisible was everywhere, on billboards, in magazines, on the lips of every moviegoer. But with fame came new pressures, new expectations, and a new kind of isolation. The world wanted Tom Cruise the superstar, not Tom Cruise the person. The more successful he became, the more he felt the walls closing in. Yet, even as he conquered Hollywood, Tom never forgot where he came from. He carried the scars of his childhood with him, using them as fuel for his performances and as a shield against the relentless scrutiny of fame. He became known for his intensity, his willingness to do whatever it took to deliver a great performance, even if it meant risking his own safety. But beneath the bravado was a man still searching for acceptance, still haunted by the ghosts of his past. Fame, when it finally arrived, was both a blessing and a burden for Tom Cruise. The world saw the meteoric rise, the effortless charm, the string of box office hits that seemed to follow him wherever he went. But what they didn't see was the relentless pressure, the fear of failure, and the constant battle to maintain the image of perfection that Hollywood demanded. Tom became a master at giving the world what it wanted: smiles for the cameras, dazzling performances, and a work ethic that bordered on obsession. But behind the scenes, the cost was mounting. As the 1980s turned into the 1990s, Tom Cruise was everywhere. Top Gun made him a global icon, Rain Man proved his dramatic chops, and Born on the 4th of July earned him his first Oscar nomination. He was the face of a new generation of movie stars, handsome, talented, and seemingly invincible. But the higher he climbed, the more isolated he became. The demands of fame left little room for real connection, and the glare of the spotlight made it nearly impossible to trust anyone's intentions. Tom's personal life became a subject of endless fascination and speculation. His marriage to actress Mimi Rogers was brief and tumultuous, marked by the pressures of two careers moving in different directions. When that relationship ended, Tom found love again with Nicole Kidman, his co-star in Days of Thunder. Their romance captivated the world, a golden couple whose chemistry seemed to leap off the screen. For a time, it looked as if Tom had finally found the stability and family he had always craved. But even fairy tales have shadows. The couple adopted 2 children, Isabella and Connor, and for a while, their home was filled with laughter and hope. Yet, beneath the surface, cracks began to form. The pressures of fame, the demands of their careers, and the ever-present scrutiny of the media took their toll. Tom's deepening involvement with the Church of Scientology added another layer of complexity, creating tensions that would eventually become impossible to ignore. When Tom and Nicole's marriage ended in 2001, it was a heartbreak that played out on the world stage. The tabloids feasted on every detail, speculating about the reasons for their split and the fate of their children. For Tom, it was a devastating loss, not just of a partner, but of the family he had fought so hard to build. The pain was compounded by the public nature of the breakup, the sense that even his most private moments were fodder for public consumption. Still, Tom pressed on. He threw himself into his work, delivering some of the most memorable performances of his career. Magnolia, Vanilla Sky, Minority Report. Each film was a testament to his talent and his relentless drive. He became known for his willingness to do his own stunts, pushing his body to the limit in pursuit of authenticity. The Mission Impossible franchise became his signature, a showcase for his physical prowess and his refusal to let age or fear slow him down. But the more he achieved, the more elusive true happiness seemed to become. Tom's relationships continued to make headlines. His whirlwind romance and marriage to Katie Holmes, the birth of their daughter Suri, and the eventual, highly publicized divorce that left him once again alone. Each new chapter brought fresh hope, and each ending left deeper scars. Through it all, Tom maintained a stoic public face. He smiled for the cameras, thanked his fans, and insisted that he was grateful for every opportunity. But those closest to him saw the toll it was taking. The relentless pace, the constant scrutiny, the never-ending quest for perfection. It was a recipe for exhaustion and isolation. Tom's world became smaller, more insular, as he struggled to protect himself and those he loved from the harsh realities of fame. Yet, even as the tragedies mounted, Tom Cruise never stopped moving forward. He continued to chase the next challenge, the next role, the next impossible stunt. It was as if he believed that if he just kept running, he could outrun the pain, the loneliness, and the heartbreak that had followed him from childhood into the heights of Hollywood. For Tom Cruise, the pursuit of greatness became both his salvation and his curse. The world marveled at his daring stunts, his tireless energy, and his refusal to let age or fear dictate his limits. Each new mission, impossible film seemed to raise the stakes, with Tom dangling from helicopters, scaling skyscrapers, and clinging to the outside of airplanes, all without a stunt double. Audiences cheered, critics applauded, and the box office soared. But behind the scenes, the risks were real, and the toll on his body and mind was mounting. The drive that had propelled Tom from a troubled childhood to the pinnacle of Hollywood was the same force that kept him pushing, year after year, to outdo himself. He became known for his intensity on set, his meticulous preparation, and his willingness to endure pain for the sake of authenticity. Directors and co-stars spoke of his focus, his generosity, and his almost superhuman work ethic. But they also noticed the walls he built around himself, the way he kept his true feelings hidden, even from those closest to him. As the years passed, Tom's world grew increasingly insular. The circle of people he trusted became smaller, and the demands of his career left little room for lasting relationships. His devotion to Scientology, a faith that had given him a sense of purpose and belonging, also became a source of controversy and division. Friends and colleagues who questioned the church's influence found themselves pushed away, and Tom's public statements about his beliefs often sparked backlash and misunderstanding. The media, once eager to celebrate his every success, began to turn. Stories about his personal life, his faith, and his sometimes eccentric behavior became fodder for late-night jokes and tabloid headlines. The infamous moment on Oprah's couch, when Tom declared his love for Katie Holmes with unrestrained enthusiasm, became a cultural punchline, overshadowing his achievements and fueling speculation about his private struggles. The more he tried to control the narrative, the more elusive control became. Through it all, Tom remained fiercely protective of his children. His relationship with Isabella and Connor, his adopted children with Nicole Kidman, became complicated by distance and the influence of Scientology. His bond with Suri, his daughter with Katie Holmes, was tested by the fallout of his divorce and the relentless attention of the press. Reports of estrangement and missed milestones haunted him, a painful reminder that even the most powerful man in Hollywood could not shield his loved ones from the consequences of his choices. Yet, Tom never stopped trying. He continued to reach out, to provide for his children, to be present in whatever ways he could. He spoke of his love for them in interviews, insisting that family was his greatest priority. But the reality was more complicated, shaped by the demands of his career, the expectations of his faith, and the scars of his own upbringing. The boy who had once longed for stability and connection now found himself struggling to hold on to the very things he valued most. Professionally, Tom's star never dimmed. He reinvented himself again and again, taking on new challenges, new genres, and new collaborators. He worked with legendary directors, tackled complex roles, and continued to push the boundaries of what was possible on screen. But the personal cost was steep. The loneliness that had haunted him since childhood became a constant companion, a shadow that followed him from set to set, city to city, year after year. As Tom entered his 60s, the contrast between his public persona and his private reality grew ever more stark. To the world, he was still the ageless action hero, the ultimate movie star. But behind the scenes, he was a man grappling with loss, regret, and the realization that some wounds never fully heal. The applause was louder than ever, but the silences in between grew longer, more profound, and more difficult to bear. As Tom Cruise's career soared into its fifth decade, the world watched in awe as he continued to defy expectations. He was the rare star who seemed immune to time, his energy undiminished, his commitment to his craft unwavering. Each new film was a testament to his enduring appeal, his ability to reinvent himself, and his refusal to settle for anything less than extraordinary. But beneath the surface, the cost of that relentless pursuit was becoming harder to ignore. The physical demands of his work were immense. Years of performing his own stunts had left Tom with a litany of injuries, broken bones, torn ligaments, and countless bruises that never made the headlines. He wore his scars like badges of honor, proof of his dedication, but they were also reminders of his mortality. As he pushed his body to the limit, the recovery times grew longer, the risks more pronounced. Friends and colleagues worried about him, urging him to slow down, to delegate, to let others share the burden. But Tom, ever the perfectionist, refused to compromise. He believed that authenticity was everything, that the audience deserved nothing less than his all. Yet, the more he gave to his work, the more his personal life seemed to slip through his fingers. The relationships that had once anchored him, romantic, familial, and platonic, became casualties of his single-minded focus. Old friends drifted away, unable to bridge the gap between the man they once knew and the global icon he had become. New connections were fleeting, often transactional, shaped by the demands of the industry rather than genuine affection or trust. Tom's world, once filled with possibility, grew smaller, more isolated, and more guarded. The tragedies of his personal life continued to mount. His relationship with Suri, once the source of so much joy, became increasingly distant. Reports of missed birthdays, unanswered calls, and years without contact painted a heartbreaking picture of a father and daughter separated, not just by circumstance, but by choices and consequences that neither could fully control. For Tom, the pain of that estrangement was a wound that never healed, a daily reminder of the price he had paid for his devotion to his career and his faith. The public, meanwhile, remained fascinated by his every move. Rumors swirled about his private life, his beliefs, and his future. Every new film was dissected for clues about his state of mind, every interview analyzed for signs of vulnerability or regret. Tom, ever the consummate professional, maintained his composure, offering gratitude to his fans and optimism about the future. But those who looked closely could see the cracks, the moments of hesitation, the flashes of sadness, the rare glimpses of a man who had given everything and received, in return, a kind of loneliness that no amount of fame could ever fill. Despite the heartbreak, Tom never stopped striving. He continued to set new goals, to chase new dreams, to push himself further than anyone thought possible. He became a mentor to younger actors, sharing his knowledge and experience, encouraging them to pursue excellence with the same passion that had defined his own career. He gave generously to charity, supporting causes close to his heart, hoping to make a difference in the world beyond the silver screen. But even as he gave to others, Tom struggled to give himself the same compassion. The perfectionism that had driven him to greatness also made it difficult for him to accept his own flaws, to forgive himself for the mistakes and losses that haunted him. He sought solace in his work, in the discipline of training, in the adrenaline of each new challenge. But when the cameras stopped rolling and the crowds went home, he was left alone with his thoughts, his regrets, and the memories of a life lived at full throttle. At 63, Tom Cruise stands as a paradox, a man who has achieved everything, yet still searches for something he cannot name. His story is one of triumph and tragedy, of dreams realized and sacrifices made, of a relentless pursuit of greatness that has brought him both unimaginable success and profound heartbreak. The world sees the legend, the superstar, the action hero. But behind the legend is a man who, despite it all, remains achingly human. As Tom Cruise moves through his seventh decade, the contrast between his public triumphs and private sorrows has never been more pronounced. The world continues to celebrate his achievements, marveling at his ageless energy and the sheer spectacle of his films. Each new Mission Impossible installment is greeted with anticipation and awe, each daring stunt a reminder of his commitment to his craft. Yet, for all the applause and accolades, Tom's life behind the scenes is marked by a solitude that few can imagine. The isolation is not just a byproduct of fame, but a consequence of choices made in pursuit of greatness. Tom's devotion to his work has always come first, often at the expense of personal relationships. The demands of his career, the constant travel, the months spent on set in far-flung locations, all have made it difficult to maintain the kind of deep, lasting connections that most people take for granted. Friends from his early days in Hollywood recall a young man who was driven, focused, and fiercely ambitious, but also warm, generous, and eager for connection. Over time, as the pressures of stardom mounted, that warmth became harder to access, hidden behind layers of professionalism and self-protection. His relationship with his children remains a source of both pride and pain. Tom has always spoken of his love for Isabella, Connor, and Suri, insisting that fatherhood is his greatest joy. But the realities of his life, the demands of his career, the influence of Scientology, the fallout from his divorces, have created barriers that even he cannot always overcome. The reports of estrangement, the missed milestones, the years of distance are wounds that linger, reminders of the sacrifices he has made in the name of ambition and belief. The tragedies of Tom's personal life are not limited to family. The loss of close friends and colleagues over the years has left him with a growing sense of mortality. The deaths of co-stars, mentors, and confidants have served as stark reminders that even the brightest stars are not immune to the passage of time. Each loss is a blow, a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing the moments that matter. Despite these hardships, Tom remains a figure of inspiration for millions. His resilience, his work ethic, and his refusal to give in to despair have made him a role model for those who face their own struggles. He has used his platform to support charitable causes, to mentor young actors, and to advocate for the power of perseverance. In interviews, he speaks of gratitude, of the importance of staying positive, of the need to keep moving forward, no matter what life throws your way. But those who know him best understand that the bravado is only part of the story. Beneath the surface, Tom is a man who feels deeply, who mourns his losses, and who longs for the kind of connection that fame can never truly provide. The loneliness that has followed him since childhood remains a constant companion that no amount of success can dispel. He fills his days with work, with training, with the pursuit of new challenges, but the quiet moments are often the hardest. When the crowds have gone home, when the cameras are off, when the only sound is the echo of his own thoughts. As he looks to the future, Tom faces the reality that time is no longer on his side. The stunts that once seemed effortless now require more preparation, more recovery, more caution. The roles that once came easily now demand a different kind of strength. A willingness to be vulnerable, to confront the pain and regret that have shaped his life. He is no longer the invincible action hero, but a man who has survived, who has endured, and who continues to search for meaning in a world that is both dazzling and unforgiving. At 63, Tom Cruise stands at a crossroads. He is a legend, a survivor, and a man whose story is far from over. The tragedies he has faced have left their mark, but they have also revealed a depth of character, a capacity for resilience, and a determination to keep moving forward, no matter how heavy the burden. As Tom Cruise enters the next chapter of his life, the world continues to watch with fascination, admiration, and for those who look closely, a sense of empathy for the man behind the myth. The legend of Tom Cruise is built on decades of cinematic triumphs, but the truth of his journey is far more nuanced. A story of resilience forged in adversity, of dreams achieved at great personal cost, and of a heart that has known both the heights of joy and the depths of heartbreak. In the quiet moments away from the cameras, Tom reflects on the path that brought him here. He remembers the boy who moved from town to town, always the outsider, always searching for a place to belong. He remembers the struggles with dyslexia, the teachers who doubted him, the classmates who laughed, and the mother who believed in him when no one else would. He remembers the first taste of success, the thrill of seeing his name in lights, and the realization that fame, for all its rewards, could never fill the emptiness left by a childhood spent longing for stability and acceptance. Tom's journey has been marked by extraordinary highs and devastating lows. He has known the exhilaration of standing atop the box office, the satisfaction of mastering a role, the pride of pushing his body and mind to their limits. But he has also known the pain of public scrutiny, the sting of failed relationships, and the ache of separation from those he loves most. The tragedies of his life are not always visible, but they are deeply felt, etched into the lines of his face, the intensity of his gaze, and the quiet moments when the applause fades and the world grows still. Despite everything, Tom remains committed to his craft. He continues to seek out new challenges, to push the boundaries of what is possible, to inspire audiences with his dedication and passion. He trains relentlessly, not just for the next role, but as a way of staying grounded, of maintaining the discipline that has always been his anchor. He surrounds himself with a small circle of trusted friends and collaborators, people who understand the demands of his life and respect the boundaries he has set. Yet, for all his achievements, Tom is acutely aware of what he has lost along the way. The price of greatness has been steep, measured not just in physical injuries or missed opportunities, but in the relationships that have slipped through his fingers, the moments with his children that can never be reclaimed, the friendships that faded as the years went by. He carries these losses with him, not as regrets, but as reminders of the complexity of a life lived in pursuit of something extraordinary. In recent years, Tom has begun to embrace a different kind of strength. The courage to be vulnerable, to acknowledge his pain, to seek connection in a world that often feels isolating. He has spoken more openly about his struggles, his hopes, and his desire to find meaning beyond the next big stunt or box office hit. He has reached out to old friends, reconnected with family, and made efforts to bridge the gaps that fame and ambition once widened. It is a quiet transformation, one that may never make headlines, but one that speaks to the enduring resilience of the human spirit. For his fans, Tom Cruise remains an icon, a symbol of what is possible when talent, determination, and hard work come together. His films continue to inspire, his story continues to resonate, and his example continues to light the way for anyone who has ever faced adversity and refused to give up. But for those who look beyond the legend, Tom's greatest achievement may be his willingness to keep searching for connection, for understanding, for a sense of peace that has eluded him for so long. At 63, Tom Cruise stands as a testament to the power of perseverance. His life is a tapestry of triumph and tragedy, woven together by the choices he has made and the challenges he has faced. He is a star, a survivor, and above all, a human being, flawed, resilient, and still searching for meaning in a world that is as beautiful as it is unforgiving. So, as we look back on the journey of Tom Cruise, let us remember not just the action hero, but the man who has endured, who has loved and lost, and who continues to inspire with his unwavering commitment to living life on his own terms. And before you go, don't forget to hit like as a gesture of tribute to Tom Cruise, a legend, a survivor, and a reminder that even the brightest stars carry shadows only they can truly understand.